Hello and welcome to the Lost Holocron. As always, I'm James, and with me is my co-host Richard. Rich, how you doing this week?
I'm good, my friend.
Good. So we got a lot of exciting stuff planned for tonight. We're going to talk about some news. We're going to talk about the Acolyte. We're going to talk about House of the Dragon, and we're going to talk about Revenge of the Pick for this week that you guys have so graciously destroyed the polls this week on some of these. There's a lot of responses I'm excited to talk about here.
Nice. But, I like when people respond.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and open with some sad news, however. Let me get it pulled up here. I'm sure that you've heard already, Richard, that unfortunately the great Donald Sutherland has passed away today.
Yeah, it's sad. He has got a lot of range, man. He's got a lot of movies if you check out his IMDb.
I'm not going to lie. I don't even know him from the movies. Like,
really?
I MASH 100%. My grandmother used to watch it all the time when I was a kid. So I've seen like every episode of MASH a dozen times or better.
Is that where he like started in, or was he like in something before?
I don't know if he started in it. Let me hit up his IMDb and we'll see what the first. God, there was so many.
My favorite thing by him was A Time to Kill, just because
I love that one.
Dude, that movie, like, it's a lot because it deals with like racism in the South and rape and all that stuff. But he plays like this like ex-lawyer who's kind of like a drunk, and they want to keep him away, and he's just great in that movie. He's just like, he's in the movie for about 10 minutes, and every scene he's in, he's good at it.
Yeah, no, he did a bunch of stuff before MASH.
Okay.
Like a lot.
It's cool he was famous like in a lot of different decades, because even this generation, they know him from the Hunger Games, so he's still famous now.
Yeah, that's what CNN used in their article, was the Hunger Games.
Imagine being known for that. I've done all these things like Broadway or something probably, and like the Hunger Games is your legacy.
Yeah, I mean, 88 though, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say, oh, so young, but we've had a lot of people dropping off in the 90s this year.
Yeah.
So it's a little young. I hate to see him go, because wasn't he going to be in the next Hunger Games, like the prequel one they're shooting?
I don't know. I mean, they probably use him in like some flashback story kind of sense. But I hope his son, Keith Sutherland, plays him in the next movie.
If you didn't watch MASH with your grandmother, what even was your childhood?
I'm dead. But like, I don't know. Like, it's sad because he was a good actor.
Yeah, I definitely kind of bummed out at that one. Now, for some lighter news, and speaking of very old people in Hollywood, Mel Brooks and Josh Gad are coming together to create a Spaceballs sequel. And if it's not Spaceballs 3, The Search for Spaceballs 2, I will be incredibly upset at this.
I think they have to do that, or you didn't watch the original movie.
Yeah, that or what was the other one? Spaceballs 2, A Quest for More Money, I think is what they were going to say that one was called.
Yeah, I love that movie, man. Like, Spaceballs I watched it just as much as Star Wars back in the day.
It's one of my favorite Mel Brooks movies, to be honest. Schwartz is with us all on this blessed day. Who do you think they're going to get Josh Gad to play, though? Do you think he's going to do like Barf's son or something?
I mean, I don't think he could play Lone Star's son, so it probably would be like Barf's son. But it's like, is any of the original cast coming back? Like, is Mel Brooks directing it? Like, is it just
Mel Brooks is executive producing it.
At least it's part of it, so.
It says in here who's directing.
We really don't get that style of movie anymore. Like, the old school Mel Brooks, History of the World, the one that was making fun of Robin Hood.
Men in Tights.
Men in Tights. That's my favorite Mel Brooks movie. That, like, I could watch that movie right now.
No, I don't think he's even writing this. But I mean, Mel Brooks is like what, 95 now?
Yeah.
And he did write and direct History of the World Part 2.
He probably is like, hey, this is where I think the story should go. You write it.
I don't know. But I am very excited to see, because I assume that a lot of this is going to be taking shots at like the sequel trilogy in Star Wars, the Star Trek reboots.
It has to be that, like, because it's a parody of Star Wars. Like, what do you think is on the table? Because now there's so much Star Wars. There's a live action show. There's what's been in animation. There are the sequels, which is probably like the easiest one to make fun of if you're like Mel Brooks, because it's the most recognizable. Like, I wonder what story they'll tell. You know, that's like a new story for them. And obviously, hey, we want to make fun of Star Wars in a way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a great time because it's very topical. But I'm gonna go ahead and take a wild guess. The fans that don't like Star Wars will not be happy with this.
You got any fan cast for anything there?
Rick Moranis back as Dark Helmet. It'll never
That'd be cool.
happen. It'll never happen.
You never say, hey, man, never say never. A lot of time has passed.
Well, like, you know the whole reason he quit acting, right?
Yeah, it was to take care of his kids, which
Yeah,
is
his wife died, so he left to take care of his kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, he didn't come back after they were grown. I don't think that you can that he'll come back for this. I mean, Josh Gad has allegedly been a Honey I Shrunk the Kids sequel that's been in development for a while. They've been trying to get him back for, and it's not happened yet.
It's like everything from the 80s just going to be redone right now.
Yeah, Richard, it's time to relive your childhood for money.
Dude,
If anyone could get him to come back, it'd be Mel Brooks.
Dude, I want for a fan cast. I forget the name of her, but she was like the Golden Droid. She was making fun of C-3PO. She was like done by Joan Rivers.
Yeah,
be done by Fran Drescher or Lady Gaga. One of them two need to be like her voice because she's a droid. She can still be around.
Well, Bill Pullman's still alive, isn't he? Because I know Paxton's dead.
They probably have like the kids of all the main crew. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm gonna tell you this: if they bring anybody back from the originals, it has to be Bill Pullman, just to make fun of old Han Solo in The Force Awakens.
Come back, die.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that'll be cool. I love that movie.
Super excited to see it come to fruition. Honestly, it's my favorite Mel Brooks film, right behind Blazing Saddles. What else we got? Inside Out 2, smashing the box office.
I'm sure my kid will be happy because they love that movie. They'll hear the intro music for it, and they're just like,
"Wow, like, Jesus!" 154 million just domestic, and 292 million worldwide so far. It's been out for a weekend, right? Like this was the opening weekend for the film.
Yeah, cinema is not dead apparently.
I mean, given this and like the Bad Boys box office haul that's been above forecast, I think we might be in for a good summer movie earnings.
Yeah. And imagine if you lower the ticket prices, it'd be more than that, you know?
Well, that's not gonna happen ever.
I think the next one I'm definitely seeing is Deadpool. Like, I might take to see Inside Out 2 like next week.
Yeah. I might go see Inside Out 2. My sister-in-law saw it and was like, "Oh, I cried." But yeah, I'll definitely be there for Deadpool. I'm not gonna miss that one.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to cry at Inside Out 2. Like that Bing Bong scene still has me like a little traumatized. it's fucking sad. Like not a little sad. It's fucking sad.
Yeah. All right, we got this one and one more. So we got the first images for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms this week.
I don't know if I'm that excited for this one.
Well, you know, I've never read the Duncan Egg novellas, which is what this is, as I understand, going to be based off of. But like basically,
that's the first problem. That's your name, Duncan and Egg. Those are your main characters. Stop it right now.
All right. Well, technically, so I'll explain this real quick for people who may not know. So Duncan the Tall was a knight in Game of Thrones who took on Aegon Aegon the Fifth as his squire. So people didn't realize he was a Targaryen. They made him shave his head, and then Duncan started affectionately calling him Egg.
Fair enough. That one takes place in between House of Dragon and Game of Thrones, like 73 years or 100 years beforehand or something like that.
Yeah, it'll be something like that because Aegon, the squire whose head gets shaved, he's referred to as Egg, ends up being the king at one point.
Okay.
During the War of the Nine Penny Kings, which is like the last big event before Robert's Rebellion. That was in 282. Nine Penny Kings was 258. It's like a little more than 20 years between it and when like the rebellion that sets up Game of Thrones starts.
That's what we need, not this Egg series, man. Like, let's see what happened right before Game of Thrones, so we have like like I guess like a Ned Stark, a Baratheon, like maybe his kids are like really young and there's only like 3 of them type shit. You know what I mean?
Well, there would be no kids during that.
Well, yeah,
I
but
think
like
Robert has one bastard girl before the war starts, Maya Stone, and Ned doesn't have anyone.
He doesn't have anyone. Okay.
Yeah,
it's still fun to see like right before that time.
Like they're both. I think Ned's like 19 and Robert's 20 when it happens. So like very young. But George has said that one's his like least favorite idea for a show, that he doesn't want to do a Robert's Rebellion.
How much time passes like with Robert's like Rebellion to the start of the Game of Thrones show?
Let's see here. In the books, Robb Stark is 15, so is Jon Snow, so 15 years.
Okay, yeah.
I think in the show they aged them both up to be like 20.
Yeah, because in the action, like they're old, so that was like I guess a bunch of time. But in the books, I guess it is different.
Yeah, it's like 18, 20 years in the show, like 15, 16 years in the books.
Okay.
Because at the end of Robert's Rebellion, Ned comes home with Jon and Robb's already born, but he's like an infant. Okay. But actually, no, I'm very excited for this because I've heard from fans that this one, the book, is fantastic because it's just a collection of short stories. So I'm excited to see what they do with this myself.
Yeah, so it was like kind of like a different tone to the whole thing, like a little more fun, you know, like, and that'd be cool to see.
Yeah, something that's not as dark.
Especially after this first episode, like the last 20 minutes. Man.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that, but all I'm gonna say right now is on Father's Day, bro. And for our last story of the night, we have Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy on joining the Star Wars universe. We're going to play this clip real quick. We're going to talk about it for a minute.
Sometimes you walk in the footsteps of people and giants who've created worlds. And in the case of Star Wars, George Lucas's world and the filmmakers that have walked in his footsteps have set this world that they want young viewers to sort of walk into and have an understanding of the world. And at the heart of it, for me, is Rey Skywalker, is Daisy Ridley and her story, and taking her on an adventure to a Jedi Academy and sort of creating a world that is a natural dovetail to the story that we've seen her go through the last 3 episodes, and working with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and the team over there in breathing life to characters that everyone loves and has fallen in love with, and finding new characters that the next generation of moviegoers will fall in love with. I've had conversations with J.J. Abrams. I've had conversations with George Lucas, and then of course Dave Filoni, who's a big part of the Star Wars universe now. We speak very often, and Kathy Kennedy and Carrie Beck and Simon Emanuel. I mean, I think the team is really taking time to make sure that we do justice to telling the story of Daisy, and you know, I think that she stands for something. We've seen this wonderful journey she went on in episode 7, 8, and 9. And now it's like on to the next adventure. And how do we create a world and the adventure that we take her on?
So how are we feeling about the Rey movie?
I mean, I'm invested in it because I love everything Star Wars, and I'm going to see it first night there. No doubt.
Hell yeah.
If this movie, like we both discussed, brings back John Boyega in the movie, then I am there and I'm like posting about it. I'm fucking excited and I can't wait for it. You know? So that's how I feel about it.
Very much the same way I feel. I think her saying there, like, she's been very open to collaborating and talking with like Dave Filoni and even George Lucas, I think really sets up that this is going to be a good one.
I mean, this has the most pressure on it out of anything that's going to come out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. 10 times more than the Acolyte. And I like that she's talking about, because I feel like, you know, when they were doing the sequels, it was like JJ's doing his thing, Ryan's doing his thing. JJ didn't like Ryan, we're doing this. Then we're like, you know, Filoni kind of has his own Filoni-verse. Tony Gilroy is doing his thing with Andor. And I think a little more collaboration at the big boy table with Star Wars would kind of help all the stories be a lot better. And, you know, Filoni kind of not fixed, but kind of added on to the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy, you know, with like the Clone Wars, and him kind of saying, hey, maybe we should do this with the story, will kind of like help that, because now he won't have to do that. We're just going to make a movie that's going to stand on its own, like she was saying, which I think you honestly do need, because when this movie finally comes out, it's just, there are going to be kids who are 12 and 13, 14, 15 seeing that for the first time, and that's their Star Wars. So let's make it really good. And I think she said everything right so far.
I completely agree. I think that it's shaping up to be good. It seems like she doesn't really give a shit about what the fans think, in that like negative reaction kind of way that we see with all this media, especially things like the Acolyte, for example.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's the most I've seen for a Star Wars show kind of ever. Like more than The Last Jedi, like by a lot.
I don't know. There was a lot of hate for Kenobi with Reva and
yeah, true.
Book of Boba Fett with some things, but I definitely think that this has been the most visceral negative reaction from that part of the fan base I think we've seen.
Probably because a lot of people aren't defending it as much as the Kenobi and Boba Fett, because Kenobi and Boba Fett had a lot of fans.
Mm-hmm.
This one, people aren't arguing for the Acolyte as much. But like back to the Rey movie, like if you could like quickly like, where would you want the story to go? And how many years after? Like, what would you do if you talked to her?
Genuinely, I think that we need to set up the Jedi are not failing for once. They're being successful. They're rebuilding the Order the right way. I think this will piss off a lot of people, because they're going to feel like this is what Luke's new Jedi Order should have been.
Yes.
And what we should have gotten in the sequels. But I genuinely think that Rey doing this will be a lot better experience for the fan base. I like Daisy Ridley as an actor in Star Wars. I'm excited to see her back. I, too, genuinely hope we get John Boyega back to fix his storyline, make him a Jedi. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to expect, but my expectations are wide open, and I'm very excited to see what goes on.
And I would like for it to be at least 10 years after Rise of Skywalker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
And I want the plot line, because I want John Boyega back. I would kind of like, I want her to rebuild the Jedi Order and have like kind of apprentice that she doesn't want to go bad. And for her to help this young apprentice, I want her to go after John Boyega, who tried to train and kind of didn't go through with it, and to give them both kind of that, arc. So that way you don't have the same, oh, this guy just turned bad. You could fix John Boyega's arc. And then you can set up like a totally new villain. I think you need like someone not from Legends, not from what we already have now, somebody new.
I completely agree. I'm excited to see what happens with it, because I feel like they could do anything.
Yeah.
But Richard, now it's time for your favorite segment of the show, the portion of the show where you embarrass the shit out of me by making me choose sides. So let's go first. What's going on here?
All right, so it's no secret that the Blade movie is kind of a mess and has been a mess. And there's just like a lot of rewrites, a lot of change of directors. Yeah. Would you rather have a new story with Mahershala Ali, or would you kind of just go back and be like, let's get an old Blade style movie with Wesley Snipes?
All right, so I'm going to be very honest. I want more Wesley Snipes as Blade, just for like the crazy bullshit he did behind the scenes. Like the whole in Blade 3, he refused to open his eyes, so they had to CGI the eyes on him. I need more stories like that, man.
He needs a kind of like a second chance at that. But I would like to see them both in the movie. I think I'd like the old one training the new one type shit, or he had a kid or something, because I don't know, the old Blade movies were sick. I love the first one. The second one was okay. Third one was terrible, but I enjoyed watching it because I liked Ryan Reynolds at that point, so everything's funny. But it wasn't the good movie by any means.
But I completely agree. I'd love to see Wesley Snipes come in one more time, even if it is as like training the new guy that's going to take up the mantle as Blade that is Mahershala Ali. I think that would be interesting. Plus, once again, I just want those insane behind-the-scenes stories to come back. All right, second one.
All right, what movie do you think was kind of a bigger disappointment, Blue Beetle or The Marvels?
I'm going to say The Marvels. I really didn't like it. I liked Blue Beetle a lot more. I thought the comedy was better in that one. I'd say the action scenes are probably about on par with each other, but just something about Blue Beetle is a little more like there for me. Now, grant you, both of these are considered flops, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'm going against our audience's opinion here. The Marvels had 62%. Blue Beetle had 38%. I'm going Blue Beetle.
It's because nobody fucking watched Blue Beetle, unfortunately.
And that poll exploded. We had like close to 60 people vote on this one. By the way, Wesley Snipes won the first one. I forgot to mention that.
Everybody wants Wesley Snipes. It's a nostalgia bait, bro.
Yeah. But what I mean, your team Blue Beetle too, I believe, yeah.
I mean, I like Blue Beetle more, but I think the Marvels is more of a flop just because the first one made a fucking $1 billion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a good movie. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. But part 2 was disjointed. It was like they felt like the critics were right behind them when they were trying to make a good movie instead of just making a good movie, which they could have.
That's a good
If
point.
Kamala Khan wasn't in that movie, I wouldn't even have watched it.
True.
Yeah.
So, final one, the most contentious poll we have, because I believe I am the only person that holds this opinion. What do we have?
Yo, whose side are you on, bro? The news of the week. Are you Team Black or Team Green?
Okay, so before the premiere of this season, I was adamantly Team Black.
Okay.
However, after this episode, I'm going to say Team Green right now.
I'm still Team Black. I love
And I'll tell you why. All right, there's nothing more that I love than seeing a dad and their child getting into some mischief. And we'll talk about this more later, but the scene in the small council with Aegon and Jaehaerys, where he keeps stealing the ball from the Lannister guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I think the prince wants a pony ride. Like, I love the whole, like, oh, he's being rebellious. Let me show you how this is done, son. You're going to get on your hands and knees and ride around with my son on your back because I'm the king. Like, there's just something about that was so peak. And I think, like, the scene with Aegon, like, lazing about in the Iron Throne, discussing his nickname with the boys, they did a lot to humanize them this episode and make them less cartoon villain. Yeah. And, of course, with the finale of this episode, it's kind of hard not to have some sympathy there. But
Team Black is just so cool. It's like it's got Damon, it's got Rhaenyra. But here's a different question with the same kind of category. Which dragons would you rather have? Team Blacks or Team Greens? You get all the dragons, but you got to pick one side.
It's not even really a contest, man.
I don't know, because like you could have Vhagar, who's the big dude, or you can have like a couple of like the smaller ones that are gangster.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Like Team Black, we're counting the wild dragons, right? Like the Cannibal and Vermithor.
From what I remember, was the one it was like they have 4 and they have 7 or something like that. But the 4 they have, one of them is Vhagar type deal.
Yeah.
So they have more, but they have the biggest one.
Yeah, they literally are doing we have a Hulk thing with Vhagar.
Because I think Damon's dragon looks dope.
Dude.
He's like the best one, I think, on their side. Was it correct?
Oh, no, I really like Melis's design, Rhaenys's dragon. Yeah. I like Cyrax, which is Rhaenyra's. Yeah. Like, I think all of the dragons in this show are so wonderfully done. But I'll be damned if Vhagar just isn't the most impressive thing in this show as far as CG goes. She's huge.
Yeah. I was rewatching when he got like chosen by the first time, and she just kind of like opens her mouth with fire. It's like, I'm gonna kill you. He's like, all right, I won't kill you. I need a master anyway. My old one's dead.
I know. I genuinely love how she was just like, oh, wait a minute. I can tell that this guy's gonna want to use me to do war crimes. I'm in.
He's like, this guy's a dick. I'm in. Do you understand what my beginning of my life was like? I missed this.
Yeah, because she's the last dragon that was there for the conquest. So now I think it's time to get into the real reason we're here. We're going to talk about the Acolyte for a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think, bro?
This is definitely better than episode 3. I think that this one is dope as shit. The cliffhanger at the end was peak.
You like the
just seeing just seeing him like float down.
Yeah, that part was sick.
Fucking bananas, dude.
That was actually my favorite part of the episode because it was like creepy and cool. Like I kind of wish that, like, what I think should have happened in this episode. Like if I was in the writers' room, I would have combined episode 3 and episode 4. And as they're walking, trying to search for this, Kelnak and everything, I would have broken up a couple of clips of her as a kid, so you kind of get that story more. Because at the cliffhanger, she switches sides and everything like that, and that could have been better shown if you have the same episode. And then with the force push at the end, I loved that, and it was amazing. But I think he should have killed Osha right there, And then I think they should have fought for at least a little bit and him kill one of the Jedis and then the episode ends. Because it's like a 30-minute episode. Like, you could have given us more.
I mean, I agree. I think that if you cut them differently, if you're going to combine 3 and 4 and you cut it differently and kind of stretch out the Kelnaka sequence to interspace those flashbacks across 2 episodes, it might work. But I'm going to be honest. I no notes. As far as episode 4 goes, I really enjoyed this one. Like, everything from them showing up on not Kashyyyk, because I can't remember the name of the planet. I should have put it in the show notes.
It should have been.
It should have been. It totally could have been. There was nothing stopping them.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest issue with this is we've invented 2 unnecessary planets now. But again, I feel like that is Star Wars fans being like, well, why do we always see the same planets?
Yeah, but we've never seen Kashyyyk.
No, we have.
Where?
Revenge of the Sith.
3 seconds. That does not count. That does not count. But lawyer, you are right. We do see it for a brief sec, but that's it. That's all we're ever gonna see. One little like tank get blown up in the water. Yoda killed 2 random dudes, and then that's it.
And Yoda's escape.
And escaping. That's it. Nah, this should have been Kashyyyk. It looks so dope in the Jedi Fallen Order game. Like, I want to see.
I'm not gonna argue with you. It should have been, but I get why they're like, oh no, this is a totally different planet that you guys have never heard of. I think it definitely reeks of we're doing this to piss you guys off because you keep complaining about getting the same planets over and over again. So now we're gonna give you what you don't want.
Yeah. Who do you think's the villain? Who do you think is Darth Teeth?
Oh, who do I think the Sith Lord is? Well, first of all, I don't think he's actually the big bad guy. I've been seeing this theory a lot online. The further we go in the show, the more I'm apt to agree. I think that he is the apprentice to the master, and he is training May, much like, for example, Vader did with Starkiller.
Yeah.
To try and usurp the mantle. Honestly, I think Darth Teeth is Khmer.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to have him be anybody else, you know? Plus, apparently...
They're foreshadowing it hard, though. Like, real hard. Like, if you watch the episodes with the thought that he is, there's like, well, that's where they're pointing. So it could be like a red herring. But
which is what I thought. But people have pointed out that in the beginning of this episode, when they're getting off the ship to go look for Kelnaka, he is holding something that looks a lot like a lightsaber.
No. There's only 3 people. It's like, well, let me see. Vernestra, Khmer, and Coral, the one who was the mother who they think might have died.
I think that is the second best theory.
Yeah. It'd be cool if it was like Vernestra, but we know her from other like High Republic things. I think it would kind of ruin those previous stories. I don't think they'll go that route.
I also think that she serves a very different point, like showing how arrogant the Jedi were and how politically motivated they are, and that being part of what led to their fall. Like, she is already a villain for a different reason.
Yeah.
And I think that this, you know, you got to look at like Khmer or the birth mother being the answer. But I genuinely think that the Darth helmet there is Khmer. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. I think that's why they had him do the whole like levitating down when he got strung up in the tree.
So crazy. What do you think of the Kiadi Mundi drama, bro? People are so mad about like him being in it for one, you know, changing his birth date in canon, him not knowing, like that one line from one fucking movie is causing so much drama. It's like, we haven't seen a Sith in millennia. It's like, dude, you were 10 feet away from them. You couldn't have said we saw, like, why are you even having him? It could have been any Jedi and there'd be no drama.
I mean, I think that this is one of those, like, I didn't care for this, but mostly because I was like, you know, we don't need something to tie this back to current media. Like, you do not need Kiadi Mundi in here to make this show related to Star Wars. I'm not pissed off that he was here. I don't mind it. Because, I mean, look at this conehead motherfucker. Sure, he could live to be 400 years. Who cares? Like, I think it's neat that we saw him, and I guess it makes sense because in canon, they're like a very small species. He's one of the few Jedi that was allowed to like go back home, have a wife, and make babies because his species was that endangered.
Hey, we know you took a vow, but you got some business to do.
Yeah, like they were like, well, you know, all right, yeah, you can go home and have sex, I guess, because your species kind of relies on it. But it doesn't bother me that he's
don't get attached. It's not the Jedi way.
yeah, you can marry her, bro, but don't go home.
I'm fucking dead. Where do you think this show ranks among the others?
I mean, honestly, with where we're at right now, I would put it on the same level as Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi. I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It could be better. And with this episode, I feel like maybe we are getting to the point where I'll be like, this is better than Boba Fett and Kenobi. This is somewhere kind of in the middle of it, and like the higher tier shows like Andor or the animated
Andor,
stuff.
Mando, people like Ahsoka, Kenobi. So like,
you know what? I think it would be closer to my opinions on Ahsoka than my opinion on the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. Because I don't not like this. I think that some of the ways that this is shot are a little confusing, but I also kind of understand like the way they've chosen to do their cuts and stuff is to look more like vintage Star Wars. So to me, it kind of makes sense. I think the biggest thing that makes me angry was seeing Ki-Adi-Mundi, and that's just because I want something that doesn't reference other Star Wars. But again, given like his species is super rare and shit, it's fine.
I think the best part of this episode for me was honestly the music. Like it sounded like a lot like Star Wars. Like just like the whimsical, like when they're going into the forest, they had like the video game music and just the stuff that plays in the background. And I thought that was really cool. I like that.
I think that this whole episode might be like the best looking one.
Yep.
But again, this is so tight.
Yep. Listen to that music. So good.
Just look at him coming down like that.
Count Dooku did that shit once in like the Clone Wars, the original ones, and I was like, you could fly, you could lift the rock, you could lift yourself. Like how crazy would it have been right here? Because he knows what May's doing. If he just killed her right there, then you don't need two actors, and then they fight. Like that would have been peak.
I think he's leaving Osho alive for May to kill. I think that's the final test.
Stand down!
What is that?
So terrifying.
Identify yourself.
You think that mask is better than Kylo Ren's or worse?
Stand down!
I'm gonna say better. I think it's definitely scarier looking, like creepier.
Yeah, 100%.
And in this particular scene, I think the mask really plays a lot in unnerving you. See, I did. I thought she was going to be dead. I saw the lights. I heard it come on, and I was like, oh, she dead. How you going to end it right there? That is the meanest cliffhanger I think we've gotten in a Star Wars show, if I'm being real with you, man. Like, it's bananas to me.
Nah, it was dope. Like, and it's cool to see that many like Jedis with lightsabers in one scene. I remember.
Plus, you get three yellow lightsabers in this one for you, buddy.
That's my favorite one, bro. That's like half the reason I like Yord or whatever, because like he has like a orange yellow lightsaber.
I'm not gonna lie, I think he might be my favorite supporting cast member.
Because he's like the fall guys. Like you could just make fun of like, shut up, Yord. Like, shut up, Yord.
Well, like when Osha pulls him aside and she's like, "Look, all right, if Soul doesn't want to kill May, I need you to." Like just that moment where he was like, whoa. Yeah, I completely agree with Allie here. I really wish live action Star Wars shows could match the level the animated shows are on. And we've seen it a couple of times. Like I would put Andor on the same level, if not even higher than Ahsoka.
You know, Allie's got a point there though. Like if you had Andor and then you have like the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars, like those shows have done so well that now we have a level of expectation with stories. And when a story like this isn't up to par, we're going to complain about it because it's not like it can't be done. We have Andor, we have Clone Wars, we have, like Rebels and things like that, where it's like, hey, this could be peak, like insanely peak, and this is just okay.
But you know what the key difference is between Andor and everything else on this list? How many episodes of Andor did we get?
Yeah, 12, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything else here has been 8 episodes.
And hour-long episodes. And that's like the problem with this Acolyte shit. Like, you gave me a 28-minute like long episode. Your budget is more than like Godzilla -0 or whatever the fuck that movie was. Like you could give us more. There's like, unless you're stealing money, you could give us more. Like supposedly they cut a Kalnaka fighting scene because they wanted it to be a shock that he's dead, no doubt. But like now we don't get to see a Wookiee fight with a lightsaber and have a huge epic battle. Like that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I land on like I don't think 30-minute episodes is enough time to tell some of the stories we're doing, and it really showed more for me in stuff like Ahsoka and this than it did Kenobi, the Book of Boba Fett, the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Like these seem like they're supposed to be very intricate, very detailed plots with a lot of moving pieces, and we cannot do a Game of Thrones style plot in 30 minutes an episode.
That's what I'm
There's
saying.
no way. And I say that lovingly because, again, I don't hate the Acolyte. I think it's fine. If
I
it
just wish it was better.
surprises me,
I just wish it
then
was
I'll
better.
be even happier. I just kind of wish it was a little longer, a little higher production value, closer to like Andor.
Because like right, looking at that picture you put up, you know, it's Andor, it's the Mandalorian, it's Ahsoka, it's Kenobi, it's Boba Fett, and then the Acolyte. Easily.
Really? See, if
Yeah.
I was going to do it, I'd go Andor, the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, the Acolyte, Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett. And I'll tell you why. I'm only saying this because the Acolyte is not done yet. And I genuinely want to wait until it's finished for me to get, because all of these other shows are done.
I'm gagged.
But it could be the second half of the first season, the Acolyte just fucking blows us away, and we're like, dude, this show's 10 out of 10. Slow start, great finish. You know, we don't know. It's unlikely, but we just don't know yet.
The lightsaber whip is going to save us.
There is also that. We haven't seen the light whip yet. And
which is crazy because that looks like that
badass.
planet the next day.
Yeah.
So like something has to happen and then they go for like reinforcements or something like that.
I'm not entirely sure how they're going to do it, but I think it'll be very, very interesting. What do you think they're going to do next episode?
I mean, if you don't give us more of that fight scene, you know, no one's gonna watch it anymore. You can't, like, you have to give us at least like 10 minutes of a fight scene. We need to see it. You know what I mean?
I got to imagine hope beyond hope, rather, that we'll get that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get more to the story of because like I'm not mad at the May switching from being good to bad because you know she does love her sister and like you can see that like you know Vader changed his mind kind of like that in the movies if you could argue it that way. So I think we're gonna get May and Osha kind of talking together, which I don't know how that's gonna look, but it's probably gonna happen. And
I don't think it'll be bad.
I don't think it'll be bad. I mean, I think they know to just kind of like use angles and shit like that.
If Adam Sandler could do it in Jack and Jill, then we could do it here.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think is gonna happen?
I think we're gonna get more of the fight scene. I really hope we get the light whip, but I don't know where it would come from. Because I've heard that's supposed to be Vernestra's weapon.
Yeah. Purple too, like Mace, I think.
It's either that or it's a weird blue color in the lighting.
The cyan, like in the video games.
I think that we'll probably get more of May's perspective on what happened on Brindock. Because we've already seen the view of events from Osha's point of view.
Yeah.
So now I think we'll get May's.
Maybe her just like escaping and meeting the bad guy, like their first, you know. I think maybe we learn his identity like in the next episode. I think that
I'm thinking so too.
You think so?
Mm.
Yeah.
I think that because from what I've noticed with this show, one of the things I appreciate about the Acolyte versus a lot of other things we see on TV is they aren't going for the typical story tropes.
Yeah.
Like the whole twins thing with May. We got that reveal in episode 1.
Yeah.
There was no like fugitive on the run thing with Master Soul and Osha.
Yeah.
We've avoided a lot of pitfalls that would make this story a lot cheaper to me. And I've really enjoyed having and God forgive me for saying this, my expectations subverted, but in a good way for once.
I think it'd be really cool to see an entire episode from the villain's perspective. Because it can only be scary for so long just being in the background, like killing people. You need to give him motivation. You need to make him seem evil and crazy. And I think an episode with him manipulating, you know, young May would go a long way and then create more fear. Like just have the episode be like him and then come back to that fight and then have him slaughter like mostly everybody. That'd be insane.
Do you think we see Master Soul die?
I think since there's not that much, you know, I don't think there's going to be an Acolyte season 2. Even if it did really, really well, I don't think we would see that. You know what I mean? So I think
they've already planned for a season 2, if I'm not mistaken.
You think they're going to get a season 2? I think
eventually they're going to have to take a risk with these shows.
I think he dies, like 100% he dies.
Yeah. That's where I'm at too. I think he dies somewhere this season for sure.
Yeah.
All right, last one, then we'll move on to the next thing. Rate me this episode on a scale of 1 to 10.
This, I liked. I'd give it a soft 8, definitely.
About the same as me. I'd say I was gonna say 7.5 and 8, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Because this was excuse me. Compared to episode 3, way better. Leagues ahead. Which leads me to believe that my theory was correct, that we just had to have episode 3 to have cool shit happen later.
You did not need that episode. And it should have been flashbacks in this episode. And then we'd be at episode 4, with 5 episodes left at this point. That'd be so much better than just 4 episodes left at this point.
I mean, honestly, we just need to have longer run times with more episodes in a season. This is something they're doing to squeeze every penny they can out of these shows, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about something that does not require episode run times. And I'm, of course, talking about House of the Dragon. We got the season premiere on Father's Day, folks. What a terrible prank to play on fathers everywhere.
You knew something bad was happening.
I've read the book. I've read Fire and Blood, so I knew exactly what was probably going to happen. Okay. And I still wasn't ready.
Nah. I'm kind of so fresh. I know in general, because I remember watching original Game of Thrones, and they basically just talk about it, whatever. But this premiere, I give this premiere a 9, a hard 9, easily.
Yeah. I would damn near say a 10. I really can't think of anything I disliked in this episode. And even in season 1, a lot of people were bitching about the lighting, and they fixed it.
Yeah, there was that one episode
was very, very easy to see, even in dark scenes. What was your favorite part?
My favorite part. I mean, I like Damon in his murder cloak. Anytime he puts this on, I'm like, shit's gonna go down. It's gonna go down. So because he's my favorite character. He's absolutely my favorite fucking character. He was a nerd. He was in Morbius. He was Doctor. No one gave a fuck, and now he plays this role, and he is a fucking badass.
And I'm not gonna lie, it is a crime that both he and the guy that played Viserys didn't even grab an Emmy nod last season.
Yeah.
Broke my heart, because that scene of him going through the beach with a crab feeder, just walking towards them, no dragon, no nothing.
How mad are you that your brother said, I'm gonna help? I'm gonna go fight this war by myself now. The plan I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah.
I liked also just kind of the way Game of Thrones sometimes had just these characters in an episode and just these characters in the next episode. And they had to do that. And then certain episodes kind of had everybody, so you kind of got to feel where everybody was at. This was one of those episodes. You got to see the greens, you got to see the blacks, the murder people, just a couple dumb little things. That's what I really liked about this episode. I see where everybody's at.
100%. And I want to give a shout out to the Queen in Black here. She got one line in the whole episode and fucking killed it.
Yeah, man. He's crazy. I also really love seeing the episode start and you hear the Stark theme, and I was like, ooh.
Getting to see Winterfell again with Kragan.
Yeah,
So what do you think about the dragons not wanting to fly over the wall when he tells that story about Jaehaerys?
So I because obviously as soon as the episode's over, I'm on TikTok, I'm seeing theories, and someone said that was in the book, and that's true. And the dragons going over the wall in Game of Thrones is something that the new people wrote. That didn't happen in a Jar Jar Martin book. And I thought that was cool. So it's not like they broke canon thing, but I thought it was such a for one, he sounded like Jon Snow. He had that kind of I talk, whatever.
He definitely. I think that they have decided that every Northerner has to have Sean Bean's accent.
Yeah, and the way they he described his whole world, his upbringing, and everything in 7 minutes, and then they just kind of end it with him giving the note where obviously, hey, your brother's dead. They just know how to tell a story, even when the king's with his wife and she's the rat or something, and she looks fucking crazy, and he's what a weird one our queen is. And then the next season cuts to Alicent and what's his name hooking up, and it's
bro,
the way they foreshadowed the queen is crazy. They show what the present queen is doing. That's just really cool. They know how to tell the story. It's great.
I absolutely cannot believe some of the things I saw in this episode that were different than the books that I actually liked. Because I don't have it on my desk. I'm almost done with the second Game of Thrones book, and we were robbed.
Yeah?
By Banoff and Wise. Yeah, dude, those books go so insanely hard compared to the shows. And I think it's a lot of it's just like you can't show the inside thoughts on screen very well unless you have a particular technique to do it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really enjoyed about this episode were like they humanized the Greens a lot more even than I think George did in the book.
Okay.
Do we have what is this?
Yeah.
Like this right here, number one, Rhaenyra is pulling a Daenerys here with the I don't want to rule over a kingdom of ash and bone. And then immediately this episode, it's like, all right, well, you know, we could go burn down the Riverlands. You want Aemon Targaryen dead? Cool. I'll go hire 2 random people and we'll go kill them.
Shows the difference between being like, because Rhaenyra was groomed to lead from like birth, basically.
Mm-hmm.
She like knows the value of like, she's gone to all these people's like petition, does things like knows all the houses. And this dude is like, you know, just a pissant. It's like, hey, you're king now because we're going to usurp the throne. And he's like, oh, great. I should get everything because I need everything now.
And I will say on that note, one of the things I find interesting about his character development in this episode is we see him doing things with Jaehaerys that his father never did for him. Like taking a 3-year-old to the small council meeting. Because he's like, no, my son will be king one day. He needs to know how to rule.
He was going to be king one day.
Well, yeah. And like, I don't know if you caught it or not, but in Blood and Cheese, the last 10 minutes there where we follow the killers through the Red Keep, underneath the twins' beds are dragon eggs.
Oh, okay.
On warmers. Because that's like a Targaryen tradition is that you put an egg in the cradle of the babe. But his dad allegedly never did that for him or any of the Green kids, just for Rhaenyra. And then Daemon steals the egg that was meant for Rhaenyra's brother, who died with her mom. So I think it's very interesting to see Aegon very specific about things like, I'm not going to be like my dad was. I'm going to make sure, you know, my son's in my small council meetings. He sits the throne with me. I give him a cradle egg. And all of these things. It just speaks a whole lot. And it makes this so much fucking harder to see, dude.
She did a great job. Like everybody does a great job of acting, but like she was so believable, like panic and running and then like being in shock at what just happened. You know what I mean?
But I'm going to be honest. Again, I say on Father's Day, bro.
I didn't think episode 2 was going to start.
I think it's very much going to be Aegon going, fuck it, there is no peace. There's only war. Anybody else who doesn't think we're going to go fight a full-on war can get the fuck out of this palace right now.
Yeah.
I think from this point that there is solidly no going back. We're going to see him, Aemond, and Kristen plan the battles, and we're going to see some shit start to go down.
Then
now,
I can be like, hey, I got one. Not the one you wanted, but I got one.
I think Rhaenyra is going to be pissed.
Probably. He did something on his own. She's the queen.
Pissed about this.
Like I said, I wanted this motherfucker. Who did you kill? This motherfucker.
I don't even think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be like her losing her son and having that finality, and then her finding out that Daemon accidentally killed like a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old. I don't think it's going to play out well for Daemon at all. I think that she's going to be very upset with him. But one of the things that I did find really fucked up about this, did they really have to leave the sawing sounds in? Like when she's leaving the room and you can hear them trying to saw off the kid's head. Bro. Sound designers in this show are sadists.
The person I was watching it with was like, I don't want to watch this. Like, you know. And
my wife.
I'm going to watch it, but it was a little rough.
That was literally her line of thought was like, why the fuck did they have to leave these sounds in?
So that's the immersion. That's why like those shows are so good. Like, ecstatic. I cannot wait. If Game of Thrones or like House of Dragon and the Acolyte came out at the exact same time, I am watching House of Dragon. Yeah. And I'd love Star Wars 100 times more than love the
I watched Acolyte yesterday evening when my wife got home. I watched House of the Dragon the moment I got home on Sunday with her. I was like, hey, baby, here's what I need you to do. You need to take a nap. I'll wake you up when I get home, but we're going to watch this together.
Yeah, you need to stay awake.
Oh, because she and I have watched the entire original series together. We watched the first season of House of the Dragon together. I'm not going to watch this without her, but I'm going to watch it when it comes out, you know?
It's really good. Like I'm so pumped for this series.
Oh God, I'm so excited for it, man. So let me tell you a little bit the difference here in the books and what they did in the show, and I want to see what you think. So Blood and Cheese in the books, the way that this plays out in the books. All right, every night Helena took her 3 children. We have Jaehaerys, the girl whose name escapes me, and a kid named Mailer, who is like the young male heir. So we have Jaehaerys, the oldest son. We have Mailer, the 3rd child, who is a young son. So Blood and Cheese break in, gag Allison. And then they point to her and they're like, which son do you want to die? A son for a son's what we have to do. And she picks the younger son, Maelor. She's like, kill him.
They don't
kill Jaehaerys anyway.
Mailer's like, the fuck, bro?
Right, but he's like 2.
Okay.
But Blood looks him in the eyes before he goes to kill Jaehaerys, and he's like, oh, your mom doesn't want you. She wanted you dead, and then kills the other kid. So that is what we could have had. So this seemed to not go as hard as it could have, I think.
Do they have any consequences, the Blood and Cheese guy? Or like, do they
they get caught.
They get caught.
Oh yeah, they get caught.
Dude, I can't wait to see. That's gonna be fucked up.
But again, well, I think they will get caught in the show too, because he took the queen's necklace, and like gold is gold, silver is silver, but that necklace is very identifiable, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
But what would you like to see this season?
I want to see some dragon fights, and I'm sure that's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
You get a lot of character deaths this season, I feel.
Yeah. I think, I just hope the ending sticks, because I know this isn't the last season, but like I so look forward to these shows where it's just like you just know you're getting peak every time. So I just keep hoping it's like that. Because the first
episode, can I break your heart?
Why?
8 episodes.
Oh my! Well, actually, it's not so bad because
they're an hour.
An hour, like even this one, I think it was like an hour and 15 minutes or something like that. Like
it felt closer to like an hour and a half. I swear to you.
Yeah, because it was a lot. So like I'm not as mad with that because they were able to do a great story in 8 episodes last season.
And I think that, and I mean all love to the Disney shows, I think that HBO can consistently produce a much better project on a bigger budget than Disney is willing to spend on their streaming shows.
Oh fuck yeah, bro.
And I think that is because HBO has always been, hey, if you want to watch our shit, you have to pay $15 a month.
Like
even before streaming.
They have such classics. Like they did Oz, which is insane.
I'm so glad you said that.
Like so many good shows.
Oh,
Game of Thrones, first one, like
The Sopranos.
Yeah, Sopranos. You know what I'm saying? Like
I think Mad Men was HBO too, wasn't it?
They have a lot, bro. They have like a lot. They have like at least 10 staples of television that they have produced and done things like that. So it's like, whenever they like, I remember watching a week before Game of Thrones came out, and they were just like, because they used to do the behind the scenes thing.
Yeah, they still do.
Yeah, and like I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is really cool. So I watched it and like hooked right away.
Mm-hmm.
Hooked, because they know how to do their business.
And I do think that this is going to be the case of, like, I think they'll stick the landing to this a lot better than we did with Game of Thrones, because this whole story's written already.
Yeah, we know what we're going to get.
So. And, like, all love to George R.R. Martin. I love the books. They read like you spread warm butter. I think if the books had been fucking finished, the show would have ended better.
So speaking on that now, because I was thinking, since you're a big Game of Thrones fan, especially now that you're reading the books, in like 5 years, if they started like an animated series where they did the Game of Thrones and kind of like a little bit more like the books, and they used his ending, like if he finishes his book, would you want that?
If he were to finish the books, yeah, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
I think that doing some animated Game of Thrones stuff could be very good in general, especially for like events that HBO doesn't feel would make a good show. Like, for example, I think an Aegon's Conquest animated series, although I would love to see it in live action, because I think it would be dope as shit to see dragons burn Harrenhal to the ground. I think the Field of Fire would be awesome to see. But I think the only avenue we have to get that stuff told is an animated series. I would do Aegon's Conquest, Robert's Rebellion, stuff like that as animated series. And I think that would probably even be a better format because you have that sort of, I don't want to say longevity, but I want to say longevity with animated stuff where like animated shows don't use CGI. It doesn't age as poorly.
Yeah.
Like you can watch Dragon Ball from the 80s and 90s and it still looks good.
My favorite thing about the old Dragon Ball is that when they do like the new like Super, whenever they're having a flashback of memory, they just show the old clip and it looks older like a memory. I fucking love that. Like
it's brilliant, dude. But any final thoughts on House of the Dragon? What you want to see on Sunday?
Nah, man, I just can't wait for it to show, man. Like I need to see me some Daemon action. I hope I have a feeling it's gonna switch. Like we're just gonna get some of these stories soon. So I hope we get at least the Team Black side of it.
So let me ask you, if you had to pick one character you think's going to die this season.
This season?
Who you got?
Kristen Cole.
It's not a bad pick.
That's
it's
what
not
I
a
bet.
bad pick.
You
I
read.
would-
You can't fucking choose.
I've read, so I can't weigh in on this.
you get the cheat book like Back to the Future. Like, so guess what, Milhouse? This guy dies. Like, how the fuck did you know?
What I will say is you're going to see a lot of awesome battles this season. I cannot wait.
Here's what I'll say, because you read the books.
Mm-hmm.
What's one thing that like didn't happen in the books or did happen in the books that you'd like to see changed for the show?
That's a tough one.
All right, we'll save that for next week then. I want you to think about that.
I'll go ahead and give you this. I will say the one thing I'm looking forward to that did happen in the books, and this is for book readers only. If you haven't read the books, don't go look this up because you're going to spoil the fuck out of yourselves. The battle over the God's Eye. I am so excited to see what that looks like on screen.
Yeah.
Again, don't go
You
look
think
that
that's
up.
this season?
Make yourself sad. I'm 90% sure it'll be this season. It might be
the
the
half or earlier half, just so I know which one you're
I
talking
think
about.
it's back half.
Back half. Okay, so big battle like fucking episode 9 or episode 7. They always do one like the episode before the ending.
Yep.
Oh.
If I had to guess, I think that's where it's going to be, and I think it's going to blow fans' minds. I can't wait to see it.
Can't wait.
And I won't speak on Kristen because that feels like cheating. But let's
Yeah,
say
bro.
good guess. Good guess.
I am guessing. Good
Good guess. I don't know if it'll be this season or not, but good guess.
I feel like you have to. No one fucking likes that guy.
No. What's crazy is he's supposed to be like the Jaime Lannister of this time period too, and they have done nothing to showcase that really, except the tournament in season 1.
Like in terms of just like fighting, like ability.
He's supposed to be like a prodigy,
Okay, no doubt.
like Jaime Lannister level good.
Okay.
But you know what, folks? We will see you guys next Thursday. That's our show for today. If you want to continue the discussion with us, you can always check out our Public Culture Slate Discord with the link in the description, or join us on our Twitter, Instagram, the Lost Holocrons TikTok, and of course, always don't forget to like and subscribe to the video if you want to get future updates for when we go live.
Do it.
As always, I'm James. This is Richard. And we'll
Bye.
see you next Thursday. Bye.
Bye.